Hurricane Melissa has officially made landfall in Jamaica as a monster Category 5 storm.
Just take a look at this video. This is in the town of Black River, which was right near the eye wall. Melissa is the most powerful hurricane ever to strike Jamaica. And it's also one of the strongest storms on record there in the Atlantic, with 185-mile-per-hour winds. Thankfully, NBC News meteorologist Bill Cairns joins us now. Bill, you followed it before the eye of the storm hit, now where we are. It's tearing its way through Jamaica. I mean, what are people experiencing there right now? And you talked about the clear of the eye, but also that eye wall. Where do we see which?
Yeah, for anyone that's in the eye or going through it, I mean, it's the worst experience of their life, and hopefully not going to take too many lives either. Hopefully a lot of people got out of the way, because this, people are describing it as a buzzsaw or a 14-mile-wide powerful tornado. However you want to describe it, there's not much that'll be left standing unless it's concrete in the way of this eye from 185-mile-per-hour winds. Now, it is starting to go over higher terrain. We're getting the friction. The eye should begin to shrink in size, and there will be some weakening taking place. And hopefully it'll weaken quickly for the, because Montego Bay, that northern eye is probably only about an hour to your south. A closer image here, show you the landfall. So this is Black River, and Black River went through the worst northeast quadrant. It's usually the highest winds. This is where the storm surge is still, whatever the storm surge is, whether it's 10 feet or 15 feet, that is pushed inland right now, and that's still sitting there because of the southerly winds at the coast. So the worst of the storm surge is now. The most extreme winds are in between Black River and Cambridge here in this northeast side of the storm, and that'll just continue to push northwards from Falmouth to Montego Bay. A lot of beautiful beaches, a lot of resorts, all through this area, and that eye is heading your way. Earlier today, it looked like it was going to head more towards Falmouth or Discovery Bay, but it's not. In case there's interest in Ocho Rios, a big vacation spot also, it looks like the eye is going to miss you. You'll still get some strong gusty winds. I've already heard powers out there, but the worst of it is definitely towards the west. So Montego Bay, hurricane force gusts have already begun. And then we're going to watch the storm quickly heading off the coast. It's not going to take long. Jamaica is about 150 miles east to west, but from north to south, this is only roughly 50 or 60 miles. So at 10 miles per hour forward speed, it's going to be out of here by late this afternoon. Even by sunset, it'll be gone. Then we track the storm up into Cuba. This is a pretty remote area. There's not a lot of towns to hit at this landfall, so that's great for you. And now it looks to be far enough away from Santiago de Cuba that we're not going to see like a decimated area there either. So the highest winds are occurring right now, as we mentioned, Black River. This is an estimate at 92. And by the way, that video we showed you at the gas station with things blowing around, that was before the eye got there. There was no videos coming out now. Power is completely out. There's no signals getting in and out of that area. They're in the thick of it. Even the storm chasers know at a certain point you have to get into your safe room or your safe concrete shelter. And then the storm heads out. As far as rainfall goes, we've already showed you some pictures of some of the extreme flooding going on. This is the additional rainfall into what we've already seen. Notice Kingston, maybe another 3 inches. So you're getting towards really the worst of it. The storm will be moving away from you the rest of the day. A few other spots here, especially in the higher terrain of central portions of Jamaica, another half a foot of rain is possible. So once again, don't expect a lot of pictures. We get like this, sometimes people have the calm after the storm or whatever it is, or, the fog of war. It will be 24 to at least 48 hours before we even get an assessment of just how bad where the eye made landfall is. There's no one's going to be in there. We'll have to depend on helicopters or satellite imagery when we get sun up tomorrow.
Yeah, it's also the aftermath of the storm, Bill, as you're talking about, when you can finally get rescue crews in there. But people will be dealing with those power outages, access to food and supplies for days, maybe weeks. Bill, thank you so much.
Well, as Bill just mentioned, Hurricane Melissa is expected to head straight towards eastern Cuba after moving across Jamaica.
And you can see tourists evacuating from Santiago de Cuba earlier today. Thankfully, Bill says the storm has moved a little bit west of that area. NBC News reporter Ed Augustin is following the very latest for us from Havana. Ed, Melissa, it's expected to hit Cuba as a Category 4, not a Category 5 storm, but more than 400,000 people have already been evacuated. How are the local leaders bracing for this storm?
People are worried, of course, and the further east you go in Cuba, the more worried people are. But as you said in your introduction, over 400,000 people have already been evacuated. Contrast that to Jamaica, where right now the storm's passing over and only about 6,000 people, according to official reports, have been evacuated. Cuba is a very faulty, dysfunctional country that's short on pretty much everything, including hope right now. But they are very, very good when it comes to hurricanes, and people are just evacuated. Many people don't have a choice in the matter. State authorities turn up in buses and lorries and tell people, I'm sorry, sir, I'm sorry, madam, you're coming with us, and it's for your own good. And as a result of that, when the hurricane hits, and let's hope it is a Category 4 or lower, due to hit Cuba about 2 o'clock local time, an awful lot of people who live in flimsy accommodation, wooden houses, zinc roofs that can fly off and become really dangerous during a hurricane, they're going to be bussed, or rather they've already been bussed, dozens of miles away to higher ground, to stronger concrete universities, for example, hospitals, schools that have been turned into shelters to try and protect people a little bit more during these dangerous times.
Yeah, Ed, I mean, it's hard watching those kids, come off of the guaguas with their little, meager belongings there. We've seen some of the damage already in Jamaica, and I think a lot of people don't realize that, on that eastern part of the island in Cuba is only like 90 miles north by sea of where we're seeing this hit in Jamaica. But in Cuba, the dynamics are different because the island's been facing constant blackouts, food shortages, dengue fever. I mean, this is an island that took a beat during COVID and never really recovered. So how does this storm sort of add to the existing cross current of struggle on the island?
It makes things much harder. And as you say, Cuba is so close to Jamaica that if you're in Santiago de Cuba in normal times, you can even hear reggae on the radio broadcast out of Kingston, Jamaica. It's really, really close. And of course, the lack of petrol, the lack of food, the lack of fumigation materials makes things far worse. Across the country right now, there's an epidemic of mosquito-borne diseases. So people are having to evacuate, many of them with diseases like dengue, orepuche, chikungunya, that are debilitating, that make people weaker. The state has had to evacuate people in a context of petrol shortages because US policy, for example, purposely reduces the amount of money that the state has to import petrol with. People are having to save up to buy food, but the inflation is going through the roof and the amount of food is lower than it otherwise would be. So they are preparing for this in very, very difficult circumstances. And I guess ultimately the proof's in the pudding. We'll see after the storm passes whether or not Cuba has been able to protect life to the extent and to the quality that it normally does during such natural disasters.
Ed Augustin there on the ground in Havana on the western part of the island. Ed, thank you. We appreciate it.
We are also seeing videos pouring in on social media from people who are stuck in Jamaica witnessing the storm firsthand.
Yeah, we're also hearing from people who have family there. NBC News correspondent Marquise Francis joins us now. You've been combing social media, Marquise. What are you finding?
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing so much now that Hurricane Melissa has actually hit land. Obviously, we're expecting anywhere from 150 to 180 mile-per-hour winds, as well as anywhere from 30 to 40 inches of rain. The videos that we're seeing trees just bending in the wind, as you're seeing on the screen, the rising tides of the water, people having to evacuate where they are. We're also seeing, and I came across a video just a few minutes ago of a JPS building, a Jamaican Public Service building that appears to have its roof kind of ripped off as local reporters are walking through, just trying to assess the damage. We're also seeing on social media people, Americans who are stuck in Jamaica, documenting this entire existence. And I kind of want to play a sound of one woman speaking about that.
Unfortunately, it's here.
It's here.
Wind has been pretty gnarly this morning.
Yeah.
We've had power go out, I think, twice now. Thankfully, at the resort, we do have a backup generator. Let's just really hope these generators hold up during the storm.
So this couple is in Sandals Resort in Montego Bay. They've been there for a number of days. And of course, a lot of people would say, why didn't they get out? They said they tried to yesterday. They had a 1:30 flight. At 12 o'clock, the airport shut down. Previous attempts to get out, flights were $2,000, and it was just too steep for them. So they're trying to wait it out, but we're seeing it all play out. They're documenting on social media. And one thing I want to add is we're also seeing AI on social media, which is kind of the downturn of a lot of this. People who are in the U.S. or elsewhere saying they're in Jamaica and they're actually not. You can kind of see discrepancies in the background and whatnot, and we're seeing, the good of social media, but also the downfall as well.
Yeah, be careful what you believe and share. Don't share something unless you've verified it.
Not the time for misinformation.
No,
Marquise Franson, thanks so much, Marquise.
Thank you, Marquise. We want to bring in Carl Schreck now. He is the interim associate director of the North Carolina Institute for Climate Studies. Carl, thanks for being here. Let's talk about this storm, Melissa, with the fact that it is slow moving, that it is so many miles wide. There's wind, there's storm surge, there's flooding. For the folks who are going to be dealing with this, first 24 hours, tell us what that's like, and then what happens after.
Yeah, so this is really kind of a worst case scenario where it's one of the strongest storms on record to make landfall, certainly in the Atlantic, and they're getting not just that incredible winds, but along the coast they're having that storm surge. It's very mountainous terrain, so they're having a lot of rainfall and potentially landslides as well going on there. And so it's a very dangerous situation. I live here in Asheville, North Carolina, in the mountains, and we just went through Helene last year. And so we dealt with some of that same flooding and landslides, but probably not to the scale that they're going to be experiencing.
You mentioned Helene. I'm interested, Mr. Schreck. Give a sense to our viewers. Is there another storm that you would compare the scope of Melissa to?
There really isn't. I mean, to find a storm this strong to hit the United States, you have to go all the way back to the 1935 Labor Day hurricane in the Florida Keys. Wow. So it's just really unprecedented to have a storm just this strong making landfall anywhere, let alone in the U.S. Does bring to mind Hurricane Maria a couple years ago in Puerto Rico, which was very devastating there, but that was only a Category 4. This one is even stronger. Also, you could also look at Hurricane Michael from a couple of years ago as well that made landfall in the Florida Panhandle, but neither of those were as strong as what we're seeing here.
You study climate. You've looked at it over the history. Give us a sense of the conditions that would lead to a storm like Melissa to develop into the size and the scope.
Yeah, so the Caribbean Sea has been really, really hot this year. It has been for a couple of years. And we haven't had any other tropical storms or hurricanes to kind of churn up the cold water from underneath. And so there was just a lot of fuel for a storm like this. And human-induced climate change, all the carbon dioxide that we emit warms the planet, but especially warms the oceans. And so provides a lot more fuel for these higher-end hurricanes to tap into, and also provides a lot more moisture, so that when they start raining, they produce a lot more of these heavy rains and flooding, especially in mountainous areas like North Carolina or like Jamaica here.
Which I got to ask, as sort of the next step to Vicki's question, is this the new normal? I mean, is just the size and intensity of what we're seeing now just something that we have to become accustomed to?
Yeah, I mean, I certainly hope, this is kind of almost a record-breaking storm. I hope that's not the new normal, but we are certainly seeing more of these really intense storms. The storms that we are getting are even stronger, more of those Category 4 and 5 storms like Helene and Milton and now Melissa. And so we know that as the climate's warming, it's producing more fuel for these storms. They're also getting wetter with heavier rainfall associated with them. And as the sea levels rise, then you're having more storm surge as well.
Carl Schreck, thank you so much for joining. We appreciate your expertise and your time, especially now.
Thank you.
We thank you for watching. And remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.